So I know we've got a few folks that are still trickling in, both virtually and in person. Hopefully nobody had too hard of a time finding our location, but I'm really glad that you all are here today. For those that may or may not know me, I am Carrie Dudek, the director of the Life Science Adventure Program at Life Science Tennessee Foundation. And I'll talk a little bit about this at the end, but I also give some of my time to Launch Tennessee. And can talk a little bit about that and how we can support folks that are applying for SBIR programs. So I'm very excited to have our group of speakers today. We actually had this original meeting scheduled for back in October, but unfortunately with kind of some of the delays in the program, we've had to reschedule, but I think the timing is perfect this time. We've got a good jump on things. And obviously we have a September deadline that I will let all of them talk about. But today we've got representatives from several of the NIH institutions, along with commercialization and SBIR experts to provide a little bit of a broader overview of the NIH SBIR STTR ecosystem and what that looks like, and just tips and tricks, as well as some maybe lesser known opportunities that each of the institutions offers. So I would like, before we begin, to just briefly introduce the Life Science Tennessee Venture Program, as I think we might have a few new faces in here. So LSVP connects all life science startups across the state of Tennessee. So we provide support for those startups that are earlier innovation, getting them ready for commercialization in a number of ways, making statewide connections and introducing them to experts across the state, and providing mentorship and coaching. This slide actually needs to be updated. We have a network now of over 100, probably close to 120 experts that are in the state or around. We provide founder education through programming as a participant in the program, office hours, and then monthly education series, much like the one that we are having today. And then capital readiness. So getting founders ready to engage with venture capitalists or any other form of capital that may be appropriate for where they are for fundraising. So that is a rolling admission program, and I really encourage folks that are maybe in therapeutic, med device, diagnostic space to reach out. I'm happy to have a conversation. I think it's a really valuable program. In fact, I think there's one of the companies that's mentioned in today's, not to give any spoilers, presentation that's actually come through our program as well. So today we're going to first hear from Adam Sorkin with NIH Seed. He's going to provide a high-level overview of the program overall, and then we'll move to spotlight sessions from the different institutions, including from Stephanie Davis at NHLBI, Swamy, Tripuranihe from NCI, and Rajesh Kumar from NIA. And then we're going to wrap up with some practical insight and tips for applications and considerations from Jim Stefansic, who's local here in Tennessee. And then I will have just a couple of nuggets of information on some of the resources that are available. With that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Adam. And Adam, I'm happy, I know I'm running the slides today, so I'm happy to progress those as needed.
Perfect. Thanks so much. All right. Well, thanks so much for having us today. Always excited to get out and engage with our applicants. So I am Adam Sorkin, the Small Business Policy Manager at the NIH's Small Business Education and Entrepreneurial Development Office, or SEED, as we like to call ourselves. And just happy to give you all an overview of our small business programs at NIH. Next slide, please. So I'm going to be focusing primarily on NIH, but did just want to note that FDA and CDC participate in our parent solicitations that we'll be discussing today. So most of this applies to their programs as well. And ACL and ARPA-H also have their own SBIR and STTR programs within the Department of Health and Human Services. So just keep them in mind as you would develop your proposals and technologies. Next slide. Just setting the stage, the NIH mission can be summarized as turning discovery into health. And our small business programs support this by helping NIH accelerate discoveries from bench to bedside. Um, our programs really focus on getting these technologies into the hands of the clinicians, researchers, patients, and other caregivers who need them. And so, why do you want to seek NIH funding? Our small business programs are one of the largest sources of early stage capital for life sciences in the United States. We invested approximately $1.4 billion in each of the last 2 years alone, and we do expect that to continue through this year. And we'll we'll learn more about what next year brings soon enough. And this is all non-dilutive early stage research and development funding. You will notice that there aren't going to be at NIH specific requirements regarding the readiness of the work we fund. And we do support a spectrum of both earlier stage and more mature technologies entering our programs. We also see companies that are very new. Around 40% of our awards do go to first-time awardees. So we're very used to working with um, earlier stage companies that are really just starting up. Unlike a lot of the agencies that you may see across the federal SBIR and STTR system, um, Health and Human Services and NIH is generally not the final purchaser of the products and the services that we develop through these programs. Um, so we really focus on helping our recipients leverage that government funding to attract the partners and investors that are needed to take their innovations to market. Um, we try to help you de-risk it to the point that you can find that strategic partner or secure that downstream funding if our funding alone, and this is often the case, is not sufficient to help you get to market. And so next slide, please. Thanks. Um, so when you apply to NIH, you'll find that we use the same standard SBIR and STTR eligibility criteria. Your company must be organized as a for-profit business and generally more than 50% owned and controlled directly or indirectly by U.S. citizens or permanent residents. NIH is one of the agencies that also accepts SBIR applications from companies that are majority owned by multiple venture capital firms or similar kinds of investors, but only if no single investor owns a majority stake in that company. Um, did want to call out that with reauthorization and developments at NIH, flexibility around the location of work has changed a bit. All funded work effort must be done in the US. Well, in the past, we've considered exceptions in rare cases when resources weren't available domestically, but NIH no longer can support funded international subawards. So just something to keep in mind. Next slide, please. And so one of the key features of our program is its flexibility. As with all SBIR and STTR programs, they're phase programs, with phase one being that demonstration of feasibility or proof of concepts, and phase two representing full R&D and extended work based on that phase one demonstration of potential. Um, and as I mentioned, we don't have hard definitions for what these phases necessarily entail. There's a fair amount of flexibility there. At NIH, we do have multiple ways to enter our program. We've got the standard phase one, a fast track option that combines both phase one and phase two into one application. The direct to phase two for those companies that have already demonstrated feasibility using other resources outside of NIH. And this is an option that is now available for both SBIR and STTR at NIH with the recent reauthorization. And then regardless of how you get to that phase two program, we've got follow-on programs to help you bridge the gap between phase two support and that partner, investor, or the marketplace. Once you have a phase two award, you're eligible for our commercialization readiness pilot program, which lets you get extensive technical assistance. That might be IP or regulatory consulting, other kinds of expert consulting for your commercialization and marketing activities. It lets you conduct late-stage R&D, work out manufacturing issues without worrying about that SBIR work requirement, so long as your company maintains clear oversight of the project. So you've got opportunities to work extensively with third parties like CROs, CMOs, and what have you. We also now offer the Phase 2B Strategic Breakthrough Award, um, where you can request additional Phase 2 award to continue that Phase 2 R&D. In many cases, that can be a larger award, though it does now have a matching fund requirement. And at NIH, we also have flexibility regarding our budget. You'll note that both NIH as well as our colleagues at CDC and ARPA-H have a waiver to exceed those standard SBA budget guidelines for Phase 1 and Phase 2 for selected topics. I did want to call out, and my colleagues will discuss this later as well. Each institute and center has its own guidance and budget levels for these kinds of requests. This is always something that you should discuss with your program officer as you get ready to apply. Next slide, please. And so when you're ready to get started, our website at seed.nih.gov is a wealth of information, including our currently open funding opportunities. The majority of our funding goes to investigator-initiated grant applications through our parent solicitations. And this means in most cases that we ask you to bring us a problem and discuss its significance and tell us your approach to solving it, rather than asking you to develop projects around specific topics that we define. We do have 3 standard receipt dates each year, with that September 5th receipt date coming up pretty quickly now. So, next slide. And so you can find our current parent notices of funding opportunities, or NOFOs, which are open for that upcoming deadline. And if you've applied to NIH before, you may have noticed that they're a little bit different than they used to be. There is now only one SBIR and one STTR NOFO for Phase 1 and 2 applications. They are now clinical trials optional, which means that the same solicitations accept proposals both with or without clinical trials. There are less to sort through, but you do need to be careful and understand which institutes and centers accept clinical trials. So you should always be sure to review the new funding considerations and contacts page, particularly about your target institute or center. And this provides helpful information and details about budget guidelines, as well as whether or not they consider clinical trials. So we do encourage you to take the opportunity to get familiar with this resource. Next slide, please. And a handful of other funding opportunity changes to keep in mind with reauthorization. We now request a regulatory plan attachment for all proposals that include clinical trials. And we do like to see that you've been thoughtful about planning your research around the necessary regulatory approvals, or at least thoughtful about how you're going to answer open questions about what kinds of approvals and work might be required. Additionally, NIH no longer requires data management and sharing plan for SBIR and STTR applications. So this is not something we are requesting or will accept going forward. Next slide. And it is very important to register and submit early now more than ever. We do recommend that you use the Assist system. You've got a couple options, but Assist is the one that is most well integrated with our infrastructure at NIH. We do encourage you to pay attention to the new requirements around biosketches. This is a change that can potentially trip applicants up, so it's very important to apply early and make sure that you've sorted out sort of the nuts and bolts around this new requirement. Do keep in mind that SBIR and STTR at NIH can no longer accept late submissions, so there's a little bit less flexibility to resolve those issues once we've hit the submission deadline. Next slide. So we do provide a number of helpful applications or resources rather, to help you submit your application. There is an annotated form set that walks you step by step through the application forms in each individual field. Detailed application instructions that describe what information should be provided throughout the application forms. A number of helpful samples of successful applications, which can be a fantastic resource to help you develop and structure your applications and get an idea for what reviewers have been receptive to in the past. We also like to point you at a number of state-based resources, as though if you're joining us today, you're already doing a great job of accessing those. And next slide, please. And we also do want to make sure that you take advantage of all the resources available to you as part of our funding. We did want to highlight the availability of technical and business assistance funding, and it's changed a little bit with reauthorization as well. You can request $6,500 in phase one and $50,000 in phase two to either find outside expertise to support development of and commercialization of your technology. You can now also support your own staff as well as participate in a number of training programs using that tab of funding. As in the past, you can also you are also entitled to request a 7% fee. This is profit for the company, and we do highly encourage you to do so. It can be used for any purpose, including commercialization activities or to support activities that cannot otherwise be supported by SBIR and STTR funding. Next slide, please. And did want to touch on just a few key takeaways about our review process. It is very similar to the review process you might be familiar with from standard R01 and other research programs, if that's a world that you've spent some time in. It does still use the classic 5-scored review criteria. SBIR and STTR and NIH does not use the new simplified review framework that you may see in some of the other programs at NIH. There have been a couple recent changes. The Center for Scientific Review now conducts all peer review for applications and contracts. Well, historically, they've done the lion's share. They now conduct all review at NIH. We now no longer have pay lines at NIH. So scores are still extremely meaningful and drive much of the selection process. But we do consider more holistically reviewer comments and other factors, including institutional priorities, strategic plans, available budget, and what have you. And we always like to highlight that resubmission is an important part of the process. Expect to resubmit. That's always a great opportunity to reach out to your program officer, discuss the feedback you get in your summary statements, and plan out next steps for your application. And next slide, please. Thanks. And then lastly, we also offer a variety of other innovator support for our awardees. This includes regulatory and business development consultants, entrepreneurial support programs, and even we recently relaunched our company showcase program, supporting participation in partnering and investment opportunities. We offer access to a lot of great training programs. The I-Cord NIH provides a great opportunity for our awardees to go through practical crash course in entrepreneurial training and customer discovery based around their SBIR and STTR technology and its related product development. A number of institutes and centers provide or allow for participation in the C3I program, which is a similar program tailored specifically around medical device entrepreneurship. And I did want to call out our innovator consulting programs, which provides access to a lot of expertise and guidance around a number of different commercialization issues, as well as pitch coaching to make sure you're well prepared for partnering events and pitching, whether or not you're participating through our program or just working through your own fundraising activities. And next slide. And then our The last piece of advice we'll leave you is we do strongly encourage you to talk to a program officer at least a month before our application deadline. So now is a great time to reach out. If you're not sure how to engage or who to talk to, you can always reach out to my office at seedinfo@nih.gov, and we're happy to help you make those connections and point you in the right direction. And with that, I think that wraps up my slides, and I will let my colleagues talk about their programs and how they participate in the SBIR and STTR programs. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Adam. Oh, sorry, Stephanie. I just wanted to remind people that we will have questions at the end, but if you do have questions, if you're online, be sure to put those in the chat. We are monitoring that. And then in here as well, we can relay these questions to the group. So don't hesitate to ask questions. All right, Stephanie, go ahead.
Thanks, Carrie. Sorry for getting a little ahead of myself, but I'm Stephanie Davis. I'm the Small Business Program Coordinator at the NHLBI in the Innovation and Commercialization Office. So I'm going to be expanding upon the SBIR, STTR basics that Adam just presented and sharing a little bit about our institute. Next slide, please. So as our name would suggest, the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute is, you guessed it, very interested in developing novel technologies and therapeutics for heart, lung, blood, and also sleep diseases. So just one minor caveat here, although we cover the non-malignant lung and blood diseases, anything lung or blood cancer is actually going to go to our friends at the NCI, and you'll be hearing from my colleague, Dr. Tripuranihe, about that next. But here's just an example of some of the conditions and diseases we are interested in. So this is not an exhaustive list. So if you have a question about whether or not your technology or your proposal is a fit for our mission space, please do not hesitate to reach out. But we are fairly flexible in our funding approach. As long as you are developing something innovative that is addressing a clear unmet need that falls within our mission, we are willing to consider it. Next slide, please. So our program is fairly large. We are the 4th largest small business program at the NIH after NCI, NIAID, and NIA. And so our budget is about $130 million every year. And so, as I mentioned, as long as you are developing something that is addressing the need for improved prevention, treatment, and diagnosis of heart, lung, blood, and sleep-related diseases and disorders, you're likely going to be at home with us. So I included this pie chart just to show on a given year what our portfolio generally looks like. Keep in mind, because most of the applications we get are through those omnibus solicitations, this can vary based on the high priority applications that we get through the omnibus solicitations. But as a whole, about 33% of our portfolio covers therapeutics, and this covers both small molecules and biologics, including cell and gene therapies. We are a very device-heavy institute, so about 36% of our portfolio covers supportive devices, which will include both therapeutic, interventional, and surgical devices, as well as about 7% monitoring devices, 5% imaging devices, 5% in vitro diagnostics, and then the remaining part of our portfolio is split among digital health, with about 9% of our technologies and 5% for research tools. But keep in mind, this does change given, from year to year, because most of what we get is investigator initiated. Next slide, please. So the NHLBI budget limits, if you recall, Adam mentioned that certain institutes and centers have the opportunity to fund projects above the SBA guidelines, and NHLBI is one of those. So we have higher budget limits if you have one of those waiver topics. So for a phase 1 SBIR or STTR, we will fund up to $400,000 total budget costs. And you are allowed to request a project period up to 2 years in length. Most of the projects sit between 1 and 2 years. For phase 2, so we will fund phase 2 awards between 2 and 3 years in length and up to $300,000 total costs. We do participate in both the Strategic Breakthrough SBIR and Commercialization Readiness Pilot Award programs. So for our phase 2B strategic breakthroughs, we will fund projects up to 4 years and up to $4.5 million total costs. The caveat there is you do have to bring in the matching funds, so you can only ask for 4.5 million if you bring in 4.5 million. And for the commercialization readiness pilot program, we will fund up to $500,000 total costs. So as always, if you want to discuss your budget or you are concerned about it exceeding the limits, we strongly recommend you reach out to us at least a month before applying. Next slide, please. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but this is a list of our budget waiver topics. As you can tell, these are extremely broad, and we have it that way for a reason, because we want to have maximum budget flexibility to be able to pick up meritorious projects and high priority areas that align with our mission space. Next slide, please. So we participate in all of the active SBIR and STTR NOFOs that Adam went over. So just a quick note that I will go into more detail about this in a later slide. We do participate in the CRP. We do not support trials to the CRP. So only non-trial applications for NHLBI. And we do recommend that you stay tuned with grants.gov, because any funding opportunity that is coming through the pipeline will be forecasted there. So you'll often be able to see those forecasts before the NOFOs are actually published. Next slide, please. And so I did want to highlight some forecasted NOFOs that we are participating in. So keep in mind, these are not yet published as NOFOs. You can't apply to them, but it does kind of give you an idea of what might potentially be coming through in the next few months. So these two in particular are geared towards early career researchers as well as new investigators who are interested in serving as a program director or a principal investigator on an NIH small business grant. So we have one that is for SBIR applications and another that is for STTR applications. So these, we are hoping that according to the forecasts, that the NOFOs will be published this fall with an anticipated first due date of January 5th, 2027. So these aren't out yet, but hopefully we will see something like that this fall. Next slide. So I also wanted to point out some highlighted topics. So many of you here who have gone through the NIH submission process before are probably familiar with past mechanisms like notices of special interest. So we don't have NOCs anymore, but if you want to see what high priority scientific areas the NHLBI is interested in, I would recommend looking at some of our highlighted topics. So keep in mind that these cover several different types of grant mechanisms beyond SBIRs. Just because you have a project that doesn't fall under a highlighted topic doesn't mean we're not interested in. This is just kind of our special way of saying we really like these areas. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the NHLBI will support clinical trials through all mechanisms except the CRP activity code. Some institutes will, we will not. So just that's another reason to reach out to us before you submit. If you are applying for a clinical trial application or even a human subjects non-interventional study, we do recommend requesting a longer project period. So for phase 1, that means we recommend requesting 2 years. For phase 2, we recommend requesting the full 3-year period and 4 years for a phase 2B. Generally speaking, NHLBI staff and our leadership would rather have a company request additional time to prevent unnecessary delays and unnecessary no-cost extensions. So as Adam mentioned, the regulatory plan is now required for all clinical trial applications through the omnibus. So make sure that if you are submitting one, you have that document ready. We also recommend, because clinical trials have unique considerations at NHLBI, we recommend reaching out to our inbox at least 30 days before the deadline so that we can discuss your project and the best options, as well as our specific policies that we have for clinical trial projects. So there is the NIH clinical trial decision tool. We recommend using that just to ensure that you are going through the correct route when you apply. Now that there is only a single NOFO for both SBIR and STTRs, it's really important that you know if your trial is if your human subjects study is a trial or not a trial. And then finally, if you want to learn more about our specific guidelines related to human subjects and clinical trial studies, we recommend looking at the link below. Next slide, please. So this provides a general overview of the support offered by the NHLBI Innovation and Commercialization Office. So we have, in addition to all of our grantees being able to take advantage of the services and support that the seed office has, we also offer in-house support. So this can include everything from support for applicants through pre-submission consults, applicant assistance programs, such as the AAP in the past or the ITEP program run by NIAID. We also provide a lot of educational opportunities and webinars that are open to applicants and awardees alike. Of course, we provide the funding all the way from phase 1 through phase 2B and CRP opportunities. And for awardees, we provide a lot of different types of guidance and support for our innovators. So as mentioned, all of the NHLBI awardees can take advantage of the seed office consults that Adam mentioned. We also have in-house expertise for intellectual property and health economics and outcomes research. For additional entrepreneurial education and support, we encourage companies to take advantage of programs like I-Core, and the C3I programs, which Adam mentioned. We provide funding for the technical and business assistance allowance, both through the grant mechanisms and through admin supplements after the fact. And then, of course, we provide commercialization readiness support through our later stage funding mechanisms, including the phase 2B and the phase 2B strategic breakthrough and the CRP. And then finally, we also, in addition to the pitch coaching and conference showcase opportunities provided by the seed office, we will often support many companies out of our own pocket. And we have an AI-enabled partnering platform that is specifically designed to connect a lot of our grantees with investors, strategic partners, and service providers. All of this is to eventually advance these products to the point that they're going to make a positive public health impact and be adopted by patients and clinicians alike. Next slide, please. And I just wanted to very, very briefly highlight some additional small business and academic innovator support programs that are available. So the Catalyze program, you might have heard of if you have tuned into the NHLBI for a while. These are additional funding opportunities, both through grants and through other transaction mechanisms that will support the development of novel heart, lung, blood, and sleep-related technologies. So a lot of companies have taken advantage of the Catalyze program and the SBIR and STTR programs. We recommend visiting the Catalyze website to learn more because for many companies, you might be able to support some of your activities through Catalyze and others through SBIR or STTR grants. The CAPCAT program is our participation in the National Institute for Biomedical Imaging and Bioengineering Point of Care Technologies Research Networks. So we've had several companies that have gotten funding through this program as well as the SBIR, including 2 Tennessee-based companies that I'm going to go over on the next page. And then finally, the REACH program. I'm sure many of you here know about the REACH program because the Mid-South REACH Hub is led by Vanderbilt University. So that is another program that we help support. It's managed by NIGMS with support from the seed office, but that provides early stage training and funding opportunities for academic innovators at these participating institutions. Next slide, please. So this doesn't include every single company we've ever funded from Tennessee through the SBIR program. I just wanted to highlight some recent awardees. And I wanted to kind of show that we fund companies from all across the state. So representing West Tennessee, we have Korami Biotech based in Memphis, Tennessee. So they are currently funded by a phase 2 STTR award. They have been developing a targeted delivery system, specifically that's designed for cardiac gene therapies. Volumetrics, which is they are a medical device company. They've developed a non-invasive waveform analysis technology for heart failure management. They have been funded through the SBIR program as well as the CAPCAT Center. And one of their founder is actually also faculty at Vanderbilt, Dr. Kyle Hocking. And then finally, we have Daxor coming out of Oak Ridge, and they have developed a non-invasive device to measure blood volume management, which can be applied to both heart failure patients as well as sepsis patients. So they've gotten funding through our SBIR program as well as through NIGMS's They've also gotten DoD funding, and also they've gotten awards through our CapCat network. So, like I said, this is just a sampling of some of the technologies we funded. We're always looking for more. We're always looking for you all to join the NHLBI Innovator family. Next slide, please. And if you'd like to connect with us, we recommend signing up for our newsletter and sending us an email. Our main inbox is here. I will also put my direct line in the chat in case you have a super specific question for me. But that being said, I'm going to hand the microphone over to my colleague, Dr. Swamy Tripuranihe from NCI.
Thank you, Stephanie. First of all, I would like to thank Carrie for putting together this event, and thanks Adam and Stephanie for giving a very good overview of SBIR STTR programs at NIH and the NHLBI. It makes my job easy here. So thanks everyone for joining. I'm Swamy Tripuranihe, Program Director at the NCI, National Cancer Institute. My job at NCI is to manage a portfolio of SBIR and STTR grants. My portfolio largely consists of small businesses developing cancer therapeutics spanning from small molecules, biologics, and cell therapies. So before joining NCI, I worked at FDA for 9 years as a senior research scientist and also as a CMC product quality reviewer. So today I'm going to provide a brief overview of some of the small business funding opportunities and also commercialization resources that are available at NCI. So here is a quick snapshot of our FY25 portfolio. As you can see, our portfolio is quite diverse. It spans an entire spectrum of cancer technologies ranging from various therapeutic modalities to diagnostics devices and digital health technologies. As Stephanie mentioned, similar to NHLBI, this portfolio keeps on changing, but overall, we fund pretty much every technology that touches cancer. Our FY25 budget was around $200 million, the largest SBIR program at NIH. So at any given time, we manage over 350 active SBIR STTR projects. So at NCI, what we are looking for and what we would like to fund is innovative oncology-focused projects that specifically addresses significant unmet clinical need and are commercially viable. So these are the NCI waiver topics. As you can see, they are pretty broad, similar to NHLBI. If your project falls within one of these waiver topics, you can request budget above the NIH SBIR cap. So at NCI, you can request up to $700K for a phase 1 project and $2.5 million for a phase 2 project. The key budget tip I usually tell most of the companies that I talk to is do not request a budget more than what's allowed. On the same note, we always tell the companies to request the maximum allowed budget. So, just because you request less budget doesn't mean there's a higher chance of getting that funded. So this is our funding pipeline. We support companies and technologies right from a very early stage, idea stage, all the way through the phase 2 efficacy clinical trials through various funding opportunities, which I'm going to talk about in the later slides. As you can see, we provide a total of $22 million in funding per project. So all the solicitations for these funding opportunities are open. And if you're interested in applying to any of these funding opportunities, please reach out to us. So Adam talked about each funding phases and its how they are structured. I want to highlight a couple funding opportunities that are specific to NCI. First, as I mentioned before, our budgets for a phase 1 is $700K and phase 2 is $2.5 million. Second, we have 2 follow-up on funding opportunities after phase 2. The first one is the commercialization readiness pilot program, and the second one is the phase 2B strategic breakthrough. So in order to apply to these 2 funding opportunities, you need to have either an active or a completed phase 2 award from NIH within the last 36 months. And I'm going to talk about these 2 funding opportunities in the later slides. So regarding the budget for the CRP, the maximum you can request is $4.1 million. And for the phase 2B strategic breakthrough, it's $10 to $15 million. The third one I would like to highlight in the slide is the NCI specific funding opportunity called the Concept Award. So we designed this funding opportunity to support high-risk, high-reward projects in the rare and pediatric cancer space. The special feature about this, the funding opportunity, is you don't need to have a preliminary data. And the budget for the Concept Award is $300K, and I'm going to talk about a little bit more in the later slides. So these are all the funding opportunities that NCI is participating in. If you're interested in learning more about the CRP program and how it's administered at NCI, there's a webinar coming up this week on July 23rd. So if you're interested in it, please do attend that webinar. Like I said, we have this funding opportunity, the NCI SBIR Innovative Concept Award. We started this funding opportunity, I think, around 4 years ago to support high-risk, high-reward project in rare and pediatric cancers. So like I mentioned, one special feature about this Concept Award is that you don't need to have a preliminary data to apply. Proposals are mostly scored upon their innovativeness and how disruptive the technologies are. But what you have to clearly lay out in the proposal is that you have to identify and anticipate a product that would result from the research. Projects are funded through a contract mechanism, unlike a grant mechanism. And the budget for these Concept Award is $300K over 1 year. So right now the solicitation is open. We are accepting proposals, and the submission deadline for the Concept Award is September 21st. This is a brand new high-dollar funding opportunity that we created as a result of SBIR reauthorization. So at NCI, we designed the program to support companies that are conducting late-stage phase 2 clinical trials in rare and pediatric cancers. So companies can request up to $15 million in funding over a 4-year period. One of the key requirements is that companies have to bring in one-to-one matching capital from non-SBIR sources. This capital, matching capital, must be new and must be raised specifically in connection with the award. In terms of eligibility, recent phase 2 awardees in the last 3 years who has projects focused on cancer that addresses the pediatric and rare cancer indications are encouraged to apply. They also have to demonstrate a strong commercial viability for their technology. So our hope with this program is by deploying $10 to $15 million in SBIR funding combined with the required one-to-one match, where we can mobilize up to $20 to $30 million per program, which would significantly advance this late-stage clinical development and help SBIR companies generate that key phase 2 efficacy signal, so that eventually they would help in generating a partnership or acquisition or ultimately a regulatory approval for the company. So in addition to funding opportunities at NCI, we also offer many commercialization resources to assist both our awardees and our applicants. So there are many resources that are available for our awarded companies, such as ICOR. Adam talked a little bit about it, where companies get an opportunity to do a customer discovery and market research. We also have investor initiative for our awardees, where we connect our awardees with investors and also send them to investor conferences, provide them pitch coaching and so forth. And we also have EIR consults at the NIH Seed. Adam talked a little bit about that. It's a great resources for our companies, where they can meet with these entrepreneurs and residents, get feedback on the regulatory plan, reimbursement plan, pitch coaching, and so forth. I'm going to highlight some programs that applicants can participate with at NCI. The first program I would like to highlight is the STEP program. It's an application assistant program where we support first-time SBIR STTR applicants in preparing their SBIR application. The second one I would like to highlight here is the Plan webinar series. It's an educational webinar series where previous or the current SBIR STTR awardees share their experience on a wide range of topics. And we do this. This is a quarterly educational webinar series where, like I said, the awardees share their experiences, such as how to implement a quality management system, or tips for drafting an IND application, or how to write a strong specific aims page. Next slide. This is an impact study we did recently. So as you can see here, in the last 5 years, our funding resulted in 67 regulatory approvals, 21 product launches, and 4.9 billion in VC funding, and approximately 100 billion in acquisition. So it's a quite successful program that we have, and with good patient and financial impact. Next slide. So this is our website, sbir.cancer.gov. You can find information on latest funding opportunities and various application and commercialization resources for both our applicants and awardees. Adam mentioned this and Stephanie mentioned this. So the most important advice that I would like to give all the attendees is, talk to the program officer. We are here to help before applying. Send us an email, with the specific aims page. We are happy to connect with you and give feedback on the technology. Next slide. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Rajesh from NII.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Rajesh Kumar. I am from National Institute of Aging Small Business Office. And as you might imagine, like NIA is focused on Alzheimer's disease and aging research. And I will talk about, next slide, please. I will talk about our program. Let me first tell you about this small business program. This is administered by the Office of Strategic Extramural Programs. We call it OSEP in short. So our office that I belong to actually coordinate all small business activities at NIA. We make funding decisions, and we provide guidance to applicants and also awardees about different small business programs that we run. We also make outreach efforts to tell potential applicants about our programs. We also provide awardees networking opportunities for partnering or for fundraising. And we also provide opportunity for entrepreneurship for for awardees who need some business consultation through Seed Office or through our own EIRs, as well as through one of our programs that I will talk to you about later. And we do all those activities in collaboration with our scientific divisions. So we have 4 scientific divisions on aging biology, neuroscience, behavioral and social research, and geriatrics and clinical gerontology. So program officers in one of these scientific division would actually be a program officer if your application get funded. So if you have any science related questions, that is when you contact your program officer on your grant, because they are the ones who administer your grant and monitor its progress. If you have any small business related program question about the application or about the program that we offer to awardees, you contact us through NIA Small Business email. Next slide, please. And so to give face to some of us that you might encounter during your application process, this is our small business of OSEP, and this is directed by Todd Heim, and Deputy Director is Sushana Kahana. We have divided our office into 2 sections. One is small business program, another is training and career development program. that might also be interest to you. If you have questions about training and all, you can reach out to them through NIA training at nih.gov. And small business program, as I mentioned, I'm Rajesh Kumar, one of the program officers here. Next slide, please. And so, as you mentioned, this SBIR STTR program is a congressionally mandated program with a set aside of 3.65% total of R&D budget. Being one of the largest institute of NIH, we have a budget of about $150 million every year. This is a significant growth in last 15 years because of the Alzheimer's funding that we receive. Next slide, please. And so we also have different funding limits. So we provide like phase 1 funding up to 500K for aging related projects and 700K for Alzheimer's related projects. And for phase 2, our limits is 2.5 million for general aging and 3 million for Alzheimer's related projects. And similarly, for CRP, Commercialization Readiness Pilot Program, we award up to 4.2 million. And for Strategic Breakthrough Award, we provide up to 3 million with 1-to-1 matching requirements. And so it's important to note that if we apply for NIA, we put our applications into 2 categories, general aging and Alzheimer's disease, and we have different budget limits for these 2 types of fundings. Next slide, please. And so what we fund, so our major focus is Alzheimer's disease, as I mentioned, and related dementias. And second is like aging biology and age-related diseases. And you might think that all diseases are age-related or prevalent in aging population, but we have specific institutions for most diseases like cardiovascular, cancer, and all. But if some diseases are or your project has a component that relates with aging biology, then it fits with NIH mission. And we also have a big focus on aging in place of choice and care delivery. And you can find more information through the link here on our interest areas and about what kind of technology we fund. You can see here on the right side pie chart, like majority of our funded grants belongs to therapeutic category, and we have a big chunk of digital health, total about 28%. Diagnostic is also a big portfolio category. And again, this is not predetermined. This is all how the funded applications look like. Next slide, please. And we also participate in all SBIR, STTR funding opportunities, including Strategic Breakthrough, Commercialization Readiness Pilot Program. And one important thing to note here is that previously we had a specific or a funding opportunity for applications related to AD and ADRD. Now you have to apply through the same NOFOs, whether your application focuses on AD, ADRD, or general aging. Next slide, please. And we also mention on, we also participate in the upcoming funding opportunity, because this is not yet published. This is a forecasting funding opportunity. We call it Small Business Transition Grants for young investigators or new entrepreneurs. Next slide, please. And so one of the program that we run, which is specific to NIA, is called NIA Startup Challenge and Accelerator Program. And this is a prize competition and entrepreneurship development program. This is kind of a pre-SBIR program. So for this, we pick about 21 teams, and I'm saying teams, not companies, because you don't have to have yet formed the company for this program. So if you have a solid idea, but need entrepreneurship training, mentoring, then this program is for you. Actually, if you have a SBIR grant, then you are not eligible for this program. So this program is for very early stage of entrepreneurs who may not even have formed a company at the time of the application. So this provides a 5 month of entrepreneurial boot camp. The participants also receive one-to-one mentorship, and you also get a networking opportunity by attending a conference and all. And you can win up to total 75,000 in cash prize. So if you are selected as a finalist for this program, all 21 finalists get $10,000 in cash prize. And after you go through the program, then we pick 7 winners, and they get 65,000 each cash prize. And you can use these cash money in any way you like to develop your idea and to form a company. And our past participants have had a great success. And I would like to mention that Carrie is one of our graduate from the past cohorts. Next slide, please. And so how do we make funding decisions? So we follow NIS unified funding policy. You can look for more details at this link. So for us at NIA, this boils down to like we prioritize innovations that address clear unmet needs, and that your innovation has a strong competitive advantage and value proposition, and that your solution is cost effective and available to wide population, and your application has a very strong scientific rigor in the approach section. And we also prioritize innovations that address gaps in NIA funded research areas, and applications who are new to small business funding, they are also looked favorably in our funding decisions. Next slide, please. So, we also like to mention that that all applicants like who are considered for funding our applications, they have to go through the foreign risk due diligence program. So we encourage all of you to consider if your relationships with the foreign country poses a risk. So you get to fill out this form at just in time when your application is being considered for funding. So NIH will look security risk, including like cybersecurity practices, patent analysis, employee analysis, foreign ownership, financial ties, and other obligations. This is not a disqualification if you have a foreign relationship, but it is important to disclose any relationship. And if your company is considered or does not clear this foreign risk, then you will be informed of this. You will be told like which category you did not or you had a risk in which category. We won't have a specific answer, but at least the risk category will be identified. And this denial decision it does not affect your eligibility for an award in subsequent cycles. So this is specific to that particular application. So we strongly encourage you to look your ties or the ties of your collaborators or CROs with foreign risk, particularly the countries of concerns. We strongly encourage you to look at our seed website, this foreign disclosure and risk management policy, and also their sample cases. Next slide, please. So we also provide a link to some of our successful applications. So these companies have agreed to share their application for educational purposes. So these are actually funded applications. You can look at them, and if you're first-time applicants, these are very helpful in phrasing your proposal to be competitive. And so we strongly encourage you to look at these. Next slide, please. And you can reach out to us anytime through the email written here, nis@nih.gov. And we also encourage you to look at the upcoming events. SEED office routinely do webinars on important topics, and please try to attend them. So that's it from me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rajesh. And I appreciate the call out. That was a really valuable program for us. And I've just connected, actually, funny enough, in the last 2 weeks with, I think, 3 different connections we made in that program. So it's continuing to provide value for us. So Jim, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Carrie. Thanks, everybody. It's great to see some familiar faces, some new faces. I'm going to be very brief because I'm going to be at the beer and biotech afterwards, so you can pepper me with questions. And you've got 3 of the best program managers here, 2 of whom I've met personally here in Tennessee, which is exciting. And I want you to have time to ask them questions. But I just wanted to go over a few, hopefully, things you can take away here, some very simple tips for writing one of these grants. And Carrie gave me some great kind of feeder questions that I can go over. So I really kind of narrowed down some of these practical tips, words of wisdom. I thought about this very carefully, and I narrowed it down to 3 T's. So if you only remember one thing I say, it's these 3 T's. First is your team. I don't know how many times I see people put proposals together where they're like, I have to go find a PI. Like, it's over. Like, you're done. You're toast. Being able to express the work you've done with somebody, it doesn't have to be publications. You don't have to have, worked with this person for decades, but you have to show some sort of relationship with this person, that this person is part of your business, that you're working with this person. Your team is so critical. And it's not just the PhD scientists, it's the engineers that are going to help develop the product. It's the officers of the company, even though they're not directly involved in the grant, that can come through in your story, and that's absolutely critical. So team's number 1. Number 2 is time. And with time, I say time, that for those of you that MBAs or understand time value of money, time and money, but I just think of time. We have a finite amount of time, and the decision to write one of these grants or not, if you do it right, is going to take a lot of your time, with the understanding that you're probably not going to win. It doesn't matter how good your grant is. You're highly unlikely to win the first time. It's just the nature of the SBIR program. But if you put the time in, you should be able to create a proposal that you're proud of, that's going to help drive your business forward. The best proposals I see that don't get funded from people are ones that people write the proposal, they end up not getting the funding for the proposal, but they end up taking that idea and they either do a resubmission or they go get other funding. But you have to make sure these grants are part of your business strategy. You don't want to put a round peg in a square hole, because you're going to waste time and you're not going to get the money. The other thing on time I like to think of is the time that you have to spend on the grant. I think Stephanie said it best. If you're doing a clinical trial, trying to squeeze a clinical trial into a period of time, you're like, oh, well, if everything goes perfect, if I get the IRB approval, it never goes perfect. It just won't. Like, getting the grant was, that was about as perfect as it gets for you, your situation, in terms of moving the project forward. You want to leverage every dollar of that. So take your time. Oh, I gotta get it done in 2 years because I gotta go raise this. Well, if you don't do a good job, you're not going to be able to get to the next milestone. So please think of time in those 2 perspectives. And last one is targeted and tangible. And what I'm talking about there are your specific, it's actually 2 T's, sorry, 4 T's. Targeted and tangible. But I think there I'm thinking your specific aims. it's really hard to write good specific games. It's really, really hard. It is an exercise that should take you a lot of time, going back to our other T, to get your specific games right, because that's what's not only going to drive your research project forward, it's going to drive your opportunity to get future funding. It's going to drive milestones in your company, which can lead to other funding. These should tie into your business. They should be tangible and they should be targeted for your business. So you want to really spend a lot of time on that. Get a lot of people to read them, get them to pick apart. I still have a very hard time writing specific games. They've got to be very, very tangible. The outcomes, you want quantitative results. Two other points quickly. When's the right time to bring in a consultant? I'm just going to give you a number. I don't think this is necessarily the perfect time, but if you can get a consultant in 60 days before your proposal's due, you got a good shot. I don't think I've ever helped anybody win a proposal. I think maybe once where someone came in below 60 days, maybe twice. So, and maybe those situations were ones where they had a lot of stuff already done. You know, establishing a relationship with your consultant. If you already think you've got everything done and you just want them to help, you know, certainly you don't want them to come in and start writing your proposal. We can talk about that offline. But 60 days, I think, is the bare minimum that you should bring in a consultant before the grant is due. And I think that's it for me for now. I'm happy to elaborate on any of those further. I'm happy to talk to you further. I guess I should have introduced myself really quickly a little bit more. So I'm Jim Stefansic. I've been working in this ecosystem now for a little over 20 years. Worked in pharma, biotech. I'm now back in med device. I actually working with a company on an earbud that does clinical grade biomedical signals, including cuffless blood pressure monitoring that we're working on here in Tennessee, which is really exciting. And so happy to talk to you about this or your business strategy and how the SBIR fits in. And my job is to, honestly, I tell people, my job is to convince you not to write an SBIR because there are much, much easier ways to get the money you need. I know it doesn't seem like it than to write an SBIR, but if it makes sense for you to write an SBIR, you've got some of the best resources here. You've got Launch Tennessee, you've got consultants. Carrie's going to talk about the programs. You should go all in with everything you can, every resource you can find. So thank you, and I'll turn it back over to Carrie.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. Yep. So Jim's been in this business a long time and has helped a lot of folks, as he mentioned. I mentioned earlier, I'm the director of the Life Science Venture Program for Life Science Tennessee. And while we can help you kind of everything under the hood of what might go into the application in terms of getting you prepared for that and connecting you with the right experts and just thinking about your overall business strategy, I do give some of my effort to Launch Tennessee, where I am the SBIR STTR proposal manager, and we offer microgrant assistance for exactly what Jim was just describing. So engaging with grant writing consultants to kind of think through your application and kind of, there's a lot of things that go into that people don't think about, particularly academic founders that I see that might be rolling out a technology. It's very different from an R01. What they're looking for is different. It's structured a little bit differently and the lens is a little bit different. So there are some things that you might not immediately think of that a grant writing consultant can help you work through. So we have that mechanism. And Jim, you made a point of engaging 60 days plus. Totally agree with that. And for us, if we could have a 90-day headway from application with us, that it gives us time to process your application, grant the award, and then you have hopefully at least 60, if not longer, days to then engage with a grant writing consultant. So we have a list of vetted ones that we've worked with. We do allow outside consultants as long as we can vet them before the award. I do want to mention just very briefly some of the other mechanisms that we have, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So we do have a statewide SBIR STTR matching fund that has been really impactful for a lot of companies across the state. So this is a fund. This year we have $5 million allocated, dedicated to this. If you are awarded a phase 1 or phase 2 SBIR or STTR, and you are in the state of Tennessee, we have a cycle. We're pushing it out. We normally do that in the month of July, but given the kind of downtime that we've seen. We're going to push that to October. Right now is the anticipated window where you can put in an application, and assuming you kind of meet the criteria that we set forth, which is available on our website, you can match for up to 50% match for those, or up to 100,000 and up to 300,000. Sorry, 100,000 phase one, 300,000 for phase two, or 50%. Whichever is greater. Sorry. Adding confusion to that. Up to 100,000, up to 300,000, phase two. So that's going to be opening up. Please keep an eye on for that, and that's really valuable. And then this is not SBIR related, but we do have the InvestTN, who is our state manager, state investment fund of a federal SBCI award that went out to all of the states. And so they make actual investments in companies. I bring that up because they are often the first dollars in outside of SBIR, True Capital. But a lot of the portfolio companies that get invested in are SBIR awardees. So with that, I think we can open it up for questions from the group, either those online. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat. Here in person, we can take your questions and relay them to the group. Yeah, sure, Jim.
I got a question for you guys about AI written proposals. There's been some, I know there's been some documents that have been released by NIH stating that they're going to crack down on NIH or on AI written proposals. What does that all mean? What is your advice on that? What are your thoughts?
I'm going to relay the question just in case. I'm sure everybody heard it, but Jim asked, what are your thoughts on AI kind of written proposals, and where does that stand, and how are agencies cracking down on that?
It looks like Stephanie and I both got there. But we've dropped some links in the chat that discuss NIH policy. But effectively, applications that are either substantially developed by AI or contain sections that are not considered original ideas by NIH and will not be considered by review. Really, we don't recommend it. You really shouldn't be submitting proposals developed by AI to NIH. I'll defer to my colleagues if they have anything else they wanted to add to that. But
yeah, I wanted to second what Adam said. So, one of the things to keep in mind is, as AI tools become more commonplace, that is going to potentially lead to a greater amount of proposals being submitted, which does create a really large burden on peer reviewers and review staff. So, the article that Adam and I posted is really great. They provide general kind of guidance for using it, but in a sense, AI is a tool to kind of help reduce administrative burden. It should not be your primary writing tool.
Anybody else checking the chat?
I also want to point out that there's a limit on number of applications that you can submit as a PI to NIH right now. So the limit is 6 applications per calendar year. So that is something that you want to keep in mind when you're planning on applying to multiple institutes or submitting multiple applications to the same institute, so that you spread them apart and don't cross that 6 application limit.
No, it's a really, really great point, Swamy. I appreciate you bringing that up. Now, does that, if they are co-Is on the grant, does that contribute to that, or is that, are there any nuances to that rule?
It's the principal investigator, whoever is listed as a principal investigator on the grant.
So co-investigators do not count towards that. MPIs will, though. So
Yes.
The general
Okay.
rule of thumb that I've been giving to academic PIs who are involved with SBIR and STTR grants and they have their own labs is choose your PI roles carefully.
Noted. We have a couple questions in the online chat. I'll go ahead and read. So Laura asked, I thought I saw that the NCI phase 2B said it was restricted pediatric and rare cancers. Is that true?
Yes, it's true. And that's what I mentioned in my slides. It's focused on supporting late stage phase 2 efficacy clinical trials in rare and pediatric cancers.
Okay. We've got another question in the chat from Bill. If you have a phase 1 grant via NSF, do you first have to go through phase 1 of another organization like NIA before going to phase 2 of NIA?
So no, you don't. At NIH, we do welcome phase 2 applications from awardees who have gotten phase 1 from other agencies. And any federal SBIR or STTR awardee can apply to NIH for phase 2. Always a great idea to reach out to your target institute or center just to make sure they're aware that that's coming in. There's some paperwork we can do on the back end just to make sure we expect it and that goes smoothly. And also make sure you're aware of just a couple of the specific instructions that you should follow just to make sure that everything comes in through our systems as it's supposed to.
One question that I just wanted to ask for the group, really, I know all of you really emphasized, and rightfully so, engaging with the program officers sooner than later, particularly around some nuanced questions and what have you. What is the best way to approach that? Should they reach out directly via email? Is there any materials they could provide on the front end that might help make the conversations more productive?
Absolutely. So email is a great way to start that conversation. By all means, you're welcome to reach out to the points of contact for each institute or center directly. My office does not need to be a bottleneck unless you're really not sure where to go. Typically we recommend draft specific aims if available. If not, a brief overview of your technology and your primary research goals are a great starting point. They don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be long. Reach out and start the discussion. You've got 3 great program officers here, so I will defer to them if there's anything else they want to share there.
Definitely, everything what Adam said, I agree with everything what Adam said. We also shared our booking links with Carrie. So, you can also reach out to Carrie and, ask, request the booking links, and, you can actually directly book us a time on our calendar, and, we are happy to meet. And before you do that, it's always good for you to send us a specifications page so we know what to discuss, and we can provide more tailored feedback if you know what the project is.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Bill actually had a follow-up question to his earlier one. He asked, alternatively, can you run 2 phase 1 grants, for example, one with NSF, one with NIA, as long as the aims are mutually exclusive, and the same with phase 2?
Actually, you can submit 2 phase 1 grants. You can submit the same project to NIH, which would be considered for NIA and all of the other participating institutes and centers. You don't have to apply individually to an institute or center. And NSF, you can, there's a checkbox on our application form that you should use that indicates that it's also been proposed to another agency. But that's fine. Both agencies can't fund the same work, but it is fine to propose it to both of them. That said, you only want to submit the project to NIH once. If you submit a second project that has the same or overlapping aims, that does become a problem, and one of those proposals will have to be withdrawn. Phase 2 is generally the same. We do have a direct to phase 2 option. I don't know about NSF's options in phase 2, so that's something you would want to discuss with them.
Potentially the last question here, can a PI on those phase ones that we just kind of discussed and their efforts be additive, not to exceed 100? I think what they're asking is the effort on each. Are they considered additive?
Yes. So if the work there is distinct, and both of those projects were funded, no investigator can have commit more than 100% overall effort across all of their effort, as well as any commitments they have to their job. For instance, if they're also an academic faculty, they need to account for that time as well.
Perfect. I think that's all the questions we have. What I would love to do is have everyone join me in thanking our speakers today. We greatly appreciate your time, and we're so glad that we were able to get this organized. I know this was really informative for our group, and happy for the engagement as well. So thank you all. For those of our attendees, this has been recorded, and I think the slides will be able to distribute as well for those that are interested. And as Swamy alluded to, I can share their booking links with them as well. You're welcome to reach out to myself for those that are interested in just more general SBIR questions. I'm happy to kind of filter there and then maybe point you in the right direction as best as I can as part of Launch Tennessee. I know that NIH has a lot of, in the SEED program as well, has a lot of programming on a regular basis. So I encourage you all to look out for those. They're usually very informative. I actually just sat in on one of Adam's, I think maybe last week, that was really specific to TABA funding and very educational and informative. So definitely encourage you to take advantage of those free and publicly available resources. So, all right.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yes, thank you
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Gary. Bye.
See you.